Radio Prague International, the external service of Czech Radio. News.
The US company NortonLifeLock is taking over the Czech antivirus firm Avast in a massive deal. The number of new COVID-19 cases registered in the Czech Republic continues to grow, and Slavia Prague have been knocked out in the third qualifying round of football's Champions League. The US software company NortonLifeLock says it has reached agreement with the Czech multinational antivirus company Avast on a takeover. The Financial Times reported the American firm is set to pay up $8.6 billion for Avast, which was set up in 1988. Avast's products are used by over 435 million people around the world, mainly free of charge. Its founders hold a stake of around 35% in the company. Some 263 fresh cases of COVID-19 were recorded in the Czech Republic on Tuesday, 10% more than on the same day the previous week, according to Health Ministry data. The reproduction number remains above 1 for the fourth day in a row, indicating an accelerated spread of the virus. The 7-day incidence ratio increased to 12 infected people per 100,000 inhabitants. Around 50 people are currently hospitalized with the coronavirus, with 13 in critical condition. This year's grain harvest will be around 4% lower than that of the previous year, suggests the Czech Statistical Office's estimate. Czech farmers are expected to harvest nearly 7 million tons of basic cereals. The yield of rapeseed is expected to drop by over 13% year-on-year to a little over 1 million tons. Meanwhile, the harvest of poppy seeds is likely to reach a 10-year record, increasing by over 40% to around 31,000 tons. According to Czech Agrarian Chamber head Jan Doležal, this year's harvest has been delayed by several weeks by the rainy weather. The Delta variant of COVID-19 is now predominant in the Czech Republic, according to the National Institute of Public Health. Based on last week's result, 97% of the positive tests are likely to be the Delta variant. Despite the recent increase in new cases, the situation in Czech hospitals remains good. According to Ladislav Dušek, head of the National Institute of Public Health, there were 515 patients hospitalized in the period between June and July, with 120 of them in intensive care units. According to Mr. Dušek, some 6,000 COVID cases were detected in July, with an overwhelming majority of those infected not being vaccinated. Prime Minister Andrej Babiš has pushed for Czech authorities to decide by the end of August whether to introduce a third dose of the vaccine. Slavia Prague have been knocked out in the third qualifying round of football's Champions League. The Czech side had lost 2-0 to Hungary's Ferencváros in the first away leg and could only manage a 1-0 victory in Prague on Tuesday night. Slavia will now face Legia Warsaw for a place in the group stage of the lower-tier Europa League. Meanwhile, Sparta Prague are already into the group stage of the Europa League. They were beaten 3-1 at home by Monaco for a 5-1 aggregate defeat in the Champions League third qualifying round. And finally, a quick look at the weather. Thursday is expected to be mostly sunny with occasional clouds and day temperatures ranging between 25 and 29 degrees Celsius. I'm Ruth Vraňková, and that's the end of the news. Hello and welcome to Radio Prague International, the external service of Czech Radio, with me, Ruth Vraňková. Coming up in today's program, the 55th edition of the Karlovy Vary International Film Festival gets underway in just over a week. As of this week, Czech pediatricians can begin ordering anti-coronavirus vaccines for their patients over the age of 12. And later on, we speak to Monika Winterlíková, the honorary consul of the Czech Republic in Atlanta. All that coming up, so please stay with us. The 55th edition of the Karlovy Vary International Film Festival gets underway in just over a week, with veteran star Michael Caine set to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at the gala opening. The region's biggest cinema extravaganza will also welcome megastar Johnny Depp, organisers have just announced. Ian Willoughby asked artistic director Karel Och what it means for Karlovy Vary to draw such big names, especially as the festival is back after a 2-year gap.
It's a really unexpected surprise to us, but I have to say it's a fruit of a work we've been doing with Christoph Mucha for years, meaning meetings, agents, publicists, managers in LA, New York, in Europe. I guess we did maybe 700 meetings in 15 years. And of course, to be in touch with the sales companies such as Henway, which is giving us documentary by Julian Temple, Crock of Gold, A Few Rounds with Shane McGowan, which is one of the films that Johnny Depp will introduce because he's one of the protagonists, being a friend of Shane McGowan for 30 years, and he co-produced the film as well. Obviously, all these relationships at some point kind of deliver, and it's a beautiful coincidence that it's exactly in this post-COVID year. And obviously, Sir Michael Caine is a huge name. I would say for anyone who's ever been in a cinema, starting with The Lovers of Hannah and Her Sisters by Woody Allen, or The Cider House Rules, but also Batman. I mean, both names are quite iconic. And I'd like to mention Ethan Hawke, a name which we announced a few days ago. An amazing, versatile artist, filmmaker, actor, writer. It's a really nice, lovely, representative lineup of celebrities.
What about guests who are less well known, who you and your team in the program department will have invited? Who are some of the more notable ones?
Well, it's a little bit difficult to confirm the exact names at this point because the situation with the COVID is changing every day. I was really happy to have on the jury a producer from Argentine, Benjamin Domenech, who produced, for instance, Lucrecia Martel film Zama, etc. But of course the situation in Argentina is not exactly favorable for long-distance traveling and return, and obviously the jurors, filmmakers, they need to work and they need to come back home, and if there is a risk for them to not being able to come back to their work, it's impossible to travel. So, as I say, the situation is changing, but we have among the filmmakers some nice names such as Juho Kuosmanen, the Finnish filmmaker, who made 2 films in his career and both played at Cannes. First one, beautiful black and white film, Best Days in the Life of Olli Mäki, Happiest Day in the Life of Maki, I'm sorry, won Uncertain Regard, and his recent film, Compartment Number 6, just won Grand Prix in Cannes in the main competition. So we consider Juho not only a friend of the festival, but one of the most talented filmmakers nowadays in Europe. So we will have delegations for all the films in competition, almost, or hopefully. Some of them will have to go to the quarantine, but they happily agreed to the quarantine because they have world premiere of their film they've been working on for years, and they don't want to miss it.
And generally speaking, how do you think this year's Vary is going to compare to previous ones with all the measures that will be in place and so on?
I have a comparison with other festivals because I already attended a few of them with the new measures such as Venice or Cannes, and what you can feel at those, or you could feel at those festivals, and I'm sure we'll be able to feel it in Karlovy Vary, is that no matter the measures and the masks and etc. that you will have to wear during the screenings, etc., people are just really happy to be back together and to be watching movies in a theater with the introduction of the filmmaker, with the possibility of a Q&A. I'm sure people will get used to the measures quite quickly and just enjoy the fact that we're back in a physical version of the festival.
As of this week, Czech pediatricians can begin ordering anti-coronavirus vaccines for their patients over the age of 12 directly in their surgeries. But many doctors are hesitating to place even the minimum order of 50 vaccines due to a lack of demand, as Brian Kennedy reports.
The Ministry of Health has been pushing to speed up the vaccination of children aged 12 to 15 ahead of the new school year. First, by increasing the capacity of centres already vaccinating minors, and now also in paediatricians' surgeries. As of mid-August, less than a quarter of school children in the target age had registered to get vaccines against COVID-19, and only half of those have gotten the first jab of a Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, approved by the European Medicines Agency for that age group in May. The Moderna job, which requires just one dose, was approved in late July. But with just over 3 weeks summer holidays left, the Ministry of Health signed a contract on Friday with the vaccine distributor Avenir, which over the weekend began informing pediatricians about the minimum order and other practical details. Czech radio reporter Václav Plechacek, who covers the health beat, says the initial response on the part of children's doctors has been underwhelming, especially given that only fully vaccinated pupils will be able to return to school in September without tests.
Řada pediatrů podle svých slov tolik dávek vyočkovat nezvládne. Ideální množství objednávek.
Many pediatricians say that they will not manage to administer so many doses. According to the Association of General Practitioners for Children and Adolescents, the ideal order would be just 10 doses, not 50. Pediatricians are now deciding whether to order vaccines at all or trying to agree with a colleague to share them. But that effort is complicated due to the holidays. Some plan to offer vaccinations to children and their parents, which they say could help, especially in areas where the vaccination coverage of the entire population is low. Many
Czech parents who may be hesitant to get the jab for themselves and even more apprehensive about vaccinating their children fear that kids are more likely to have a bad reaction and less likely to recover from it. But Dr. Irena Kočmová from the Department of Clinical Immunology and Allerology at the University Hospital Hradec Králové says such fears are unwarranted, and with vaccinations key to achieving herd immunity, the herd must also include children.
Ale já bych chtěla říct, že tyto skutečně alergické reakce na očkování jsou.
I must stress that reactions to vaccinations are extremely rare. In patients at risk, we can anticipate the risk and immediately administer life-saving drugs. Sometimes reactions occur unexpectedly, but again, these are isolated cases, a few thousand among tens of millions of COVID-19 vaccines. What's more, in general, children tolerate vaccinations quite well. If a child has an abnormal, disproportionate reaction, we must proceed with caution. But again, that is truly exceptional. I support vaccinations and greatly appreciate that it is possible to vaccinate children from the age of 12 in the Czech Republic.
After vaccination against COVID-19, approximately 4,570 people out of 5.8 million people in the Czech Republic contracted the virus. That's not even 1 in 1,000, according to the Institute of Health Information and Statistics. Since July, an average of 75% of those newly infected were unvaccinated. The lion's share were adolescents and people in their 20s or 30s.
Just a reminder that you're listening to Radio Prague, the external service of Czech Radio, where it's now time for today's main feature, brought to you by Brian Kennedy.
Monika Winterlíková is the honorary consul of the Czech Republic in Atlanta, where her family moved a decade ago to open a subsidiary of their family manufacturing business. Part of that position entails working to develop trade, economic, and cultural ties, that's her favorite aspect of it, between Georgia and her homeland. Working to bring the Czech expat and Czech American communities together and celebrating the folklore and heritage of her own region, she says, all came together in the form of the foundation Moravian Glory.
In 2011, we decided to open a subsidiary of our family business in Georgia to follow our customer to United States. So we moved my family to United States and we lived there since then. So this is a very short version of the story, of course.
Sure.
It wasn't easy like it sounds. But yes, I live in Georgia for the past 11 years. And this is where our manufacturing company is. And I became a honorary consul of the Czech Republic for Georgia last year in October. So my connection to Czech Republic became even stronger. And, since we were in Georgia, we always tried to promote Czech story and Moravian culture in U.S., not only for Czech Americans, but also for Americans. So all of this kind of connected at the end with establishing Moravian Glory Foundation. So this is my life now. My family, my business, the honorary consulate, and of course the foundation now.
And when you arrived in Atlanta, was there much of a Czech community that you could tap into? Were there Czech churches, for example, or how?
No, we don't have Czech churches, but the Czech community is fairly large. The estimate is about 2,000 people of Czech descent or Czech expats. And they are all over Georgia, of course, primarily in Metro Atlanta. And approximately the same time when we moved to Georgia, there was a Czech and Slovak school established. So the life of Czechs kind of started to revolve around the Czech school, which is only Saturday school for children, but the honorary consulate and the Czech school kind of kept the people together, and I think it's still pretty much valid until now because we organize different events. We, for example, do Check That Film, which is organized by the Foreign Ministry and Czech centers. We organize, of course, celebrations of Czechoslovak Republic and many other events for, children. So we kind of keep the community together.
And can you tell me about how the idea came for Moravian Glory?
It was a pretty natural process because my husband and I were supporting the Czech school from the beginning, and we were closely working with George Novak, who was my preceptor for the Czech consulate. We always try to bring interesting people and interesting events to Atlanta to promote Czech or Moravian culture, and on the other hand, keep the community together and offer them something from home. So I started to work with local people here in South Moravia, and I tried to bring their programs and their art, the folk art, to Atlanta, and of course later on to other destinations like, for example, Cedar Rapids, where we happen to have the National Czech and Slovak Museum. So the cooperation was very natural.
Mm-hmm. So you are a proud Moravian, I guess. You have deep ties to the region.
Exactly. I maybe wanted to bring it for my children as well because I have 2 teenage daughters. I didn't want them to forget where they come from. So, yes, we are a very proud Moravian family.
Okay, from your website, I saw a few of the projects that you've done. One was, in English, I guess, Landscape of Memory with the photographer Honza Sakarz. Can you tell me about that, how that came about?
Yes, so this is a project that we are still actually working on. We started to work together with Honza at the beginning of the year. We approached him because we like the technique he is using, historical technique of making pictures on a metal sheet, thanks to collodium, which is kind of a little chemistry lab for him. We wanted him to come to Moravia and take pictures with this technique of not only the landscape, but also of the people, important people who live here and care for the region and kind of accomplished something, in a way that the landscape looks what it looks like now. So, for example, we pictured the manager of the Lednice Castle, Miss Holáskova, who works at the castle for 3 decades. She hard work made what Lednice Castle is today. So this is what the whole story is about. We are still in the process of taking the pictures. He will be finished at the end of July, and we will make the whole project live at the October exhibition in Wrocław. And then we hope also to take this exhibition to U.S. and show it to Czech Americans starting in Cedar Rapids again.
Mm-hmm. So these photos, using this very old camera or technique rather, do you also sort of recreate historical scenes, people in period dress or anything like that?
No, not really. We mainly want to capture the current look of South Moravia, but like you say, we try to capture the personality in the environment that they accomplished to create. Ms. Holáskova, for example, her portrait is taken together with the castle, and it's a mixture of interior pictures, exterior pictures. We also capture people in the folk dresses. We have some people who actually do some trade, so we try to capture them actually showing the trade they are good at. For example, a lady that paints the folk ornaments. So it's not going back to show the history.
And I guess the other big project you have at the moment is Babička Remembers, or Babinko Vzpomínej. So this is your own grandmother, right, Mariška?
It's actually my great-grandmother, Mariška, Maria. And the story behind it is that she was very special in a way that she lived 90 years in the same house, and it was pretty much the whole 20th century. We wanted to capture that. We wanted to capture what the life looked like during these 90 years, and we also consider her growing up, so we capture her childhood, her youth, her adulthood, and of course the old age. But we kind of cut through with the customs and traditions, different seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter. So it really, when you go through the exhibition, you kind of know what the life looked like, at the Czech village or Moravian village in the 20th century. And why my great-grandmother, the fact that she always lived in the same place, was kind of what made the story.
And was this a house that you spent time in yourself as a child? I imagine.
No. My grandmother was born there. I would spend there time as a little girl just visiting my great-grandmother. But the house is still standing. It's not in a very good shape. Nobody lived there for the past 10 years. But we were fortunate also last year to buy this house from other family members. And now the foundation wants to preserve it and reconstruct it. And we have a goal to make a museum there.
Right, I was reading on your website that you are looking to buy or borrow or be gifted all kinds of objects, period objects, photographs, furniture.
Exactly. We want to make the museum very authentic. We will try to show the visitors what the life looked like, because these were farms, and the life at the farms was very hard, obviously, and we want to show it to, our children who live today a fairly easy life. So it should be also very educational, and we will try to make it interactive, which we already tried also for the exhibition, the traveling exhibition that we sent to Cedar Rapids. We work with QR codes, so we kind of make the rhymes in Czech for the people who want to listen to old Czech, and it's just our way to promote Moravia.
And there was one more recent project that I was reading a little bit about, this Modrotisk, the blueprint picnic in Valtice. So is this something you yourself are into, the traditional block printing technique?
I would say that it's a specialty or a project of one of my friends who are part of the foundation now with me. Her name is Dasha Benesheva, and she studies blueprint for the past 10, 11 years. And this was the 6th year that she would organize the workshop. In the past, it would be only for a closed group of her friends who would be interested to learn the technique and who would be interested to maybe paint their own dress with blueprint technique. And this year was the first year we kind of did it in cooperation with our foundation, also for the public. And the goal is that people who are interested will learn the technique with us and will work on their own dresses or other clothes. And it's a very old technique. It's something that we want to promote and make it available to more people.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything I haven't asked you about related to Moravian Glory or specific projects that you would like to highlight?
What I would like to highlight is that we try to make our projects available to Czech Americans, and we want to find more groups, organizations in the U.S. who would like to work with us in promoting the projects. So, like I said, the traveling exhibit at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Cedar Rapids, and will be displayed there until September 6th. We would like to send it to other venues, to other locations, so people can see the story and support Czech folklore and Moravian culture and ornament painting and all that we try to support.
And that report by Brian Kennedy brings us to the end of our program here on Radio Prague International. From me, Ruth Fraňková, and all of us here at the station, thanks for listening and goodbye.